Hey, beautiful mama. Quick question before we dive in. Are you tired of feeling like you're doing everything for everyone else, but still wondering when it's finally going to be your turn? I see you because I've been you. I know what it's like to chase goals while juggling motherhood, responsibilities, and that little voice that whispers, who am I to want more? But here's the truth, you were never meant to settle. You were meant to shine. I'm Mary Dibble, life purpose and goal success coach, and I help moms just like you break free from guilt, fear, and self doubt so you can rise as the confident, radiant CEO of your life. If you're ready to end this year strong and step into 2026 with clarity, purpose, and unstoppable momentum, I want to invite you to schedule your free 1 hour limitless mom strategy call with me. You'll walk away with powerful insights, practical next steps, and a renewed sense of confidence, whether or not we decide to work together. You can grab your free call now at marydibblecoaching.com or click the link in the show notes. All right, Mama, let's get into today's episode. And remember, this is your time to rise. Welcome to Radiant Mom Rising. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and uplifted. I'm your host, Mary Dibble, and in each episode, we dive into amazing stories, insights, and conversations that help moms like you chase your dreams and embrace your worth. Let's rise and shine together. Hey, beautiful mamas. Welcome back to another episode of Radiant Mom Rising. I'm so excited about today's conversation because we are diving into something every mom feels at some point. That question of who am I now? And what does it mean to be enough in a world constantly telling us to be more, do more, and never slow down? Today, I'm joined by the incredible Barbara Burgess, author, consultant, intuitive leader, and late in life mom with a story that is going to touch your heart in the best way. Barbara shared her journey of walking away from a corporate identity, rediscovering who she truly is, and learning to trust the inner voice that we so often silence. This conversation is spacious, grounding, and deeply real, and I cannot wait for you to experience it. Let's dive in. Hey, Barbara, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you.
Well, it's an honor to have you. I'm loving your book, so I can't wait to get into that a little bit today. But let's get started. If you will, just introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. So Barbara Burgess is my name, and most recently author of the book Enough. But I will say, out of all of the interview questions I get when we're talking on podcasts, this is the hardest one because I will say, as I move into this next season of life, I'm like, how does one define oneself? And I think, by my describing my experience of it, hopefully others will relate. But that's part of it, right? Is that, I'm somebody who worked in a corporate career in a traditional way. Then I went to work for a for-profit that was smaller that became a nonprofit. And I'm somebody who, jack of all trades, master of none. And so I have been in internet marketing and e-commerce and sales and operations. And, by the time I left that organization, I was COO. And most of what I've done in my life, I never sort of pre-anticipated that would be the spot I'm in. It's just like, oh, there's something in front of me. Let me engage
I
and
love it.
discover like where this is going to take me, right? So, but the big shift I think say in this particular time has been, I left that company through about 4 years ago now and launched my own business, doing consulting and coaching and training and teaching and all kinds of things, and wrote this book and did a one woman show. And I'm a mother of teenagers and I'm a late in life mom because, literally my friends' kids are working jobs. It's so bizarre. And I have a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old at home. So there's this real disconnect where like
Mm.
my body's ready to empty nest, but my reality is two humans needing a lot of love,
Yeah, too.
And so all of that is who I am, and so it's hard to put, titles and things. Cause I will say I'm a little bit allergic to, people pitching themselves at some
Mhm.
level because, and you said it before we even got on, like what I love, my passion, what's in my heart is authenticity. It's being
Yeah,
real. It's people who will just tell you this is how it really is, who aren't
yeah.
transactional humans. Like those are the things that make my heart so happy.
Oh, wow. And I can imagine, like, with you being in the marketing and the financial operations and things like that, you've learned a lot, and I can see how that would would affect how you like to show up because it's great and it's a big part of my business structure and branding is like I don't like ever putting it that pressure. It's just like I'm here. This is what I can do for you. You know, it's you take it or leave it because at the end of the day, this isn't about me. It's about them and the transformation that they're looking for, and I'm there
Yeah.
to support that. But it's them who has to do the work, right? So it's
Yes.
it's a
Yes.
beautiful way to be, and I love this kind of conversations for moms, especially because like you being a late mom. So I have a 4 and a 6 and a 17-year-old. So I
Mhm.
have a gap
You
in
got the
my
gamut.
yes, I have the gamut, and then it's like I
Yeah.
also became a mother later in life, so I'm gonna have that experience later on. So I'd love to hear more about like your journey. What has that been like for you as far as navigating that motherhood while trying to start your business, while even just being a working mom.
Yeah. Okay. So I just got
Yeah.
teary as you were asking those questions. I'm like,
Oh
okay, honey, what's
God.
going on here?
Oh,
But
I
I
love.
think I will get a little teary. I think there's so much in that,
I
right? Because when I think about this journey of what it has been to be a mother and always be a working mother for
know. Yes.
that whole period of time, like it's all of it, right? So I think about, when they were younger and pulling them to events where I was speaking and they're sitting in the green room or they're doing this or that or whatever, like, which I think is a beautiful thing. Like I work with a lot of, mom executives who have that guilt, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
it's like I don't believe in it, but it doesn't mean I don't feel it myself at times, like for different pieces. But I think about what the beauty of seeing what mothers do. Like, I love when kids get that exposure, and get to see that. And I think it's as important as the women who have dedicated themselves to truly nurturing in the home as their full time job, because they're both jobs. And I think we're always sorting like the percentage of our human resource and where we're going to allocate it given our life circumstances and all those things. So for me, I was very grateful for having chosen to have kids. I was grateful for the really a lot of the benefits of being a later in life mom because I had already seen a lot. Like, I remember being at a baseball game here in Chicago, and my friend, it was when texting was new, right?
Yeah.
And my friend is in a massive screaming fight with her adolescent daughter via text. I hate you. I hate you too. But there's something beautiful about seeing that in advance that when it comes, that's okay. Like it's normal, it's part of the process.
Process.
You're not a bad mother, it's how it goes, right? So I feel
Yeah.
like having done the job later, there was a lot about that and there was a lot I just knew from life's journey, meaning I remember saying to my husband once, like the kids were arguing about something and he was getting irritated. And I said, listen, in a minute, we're going to miss that music. We are going to just like, it's going to feel
Yeah.
so quiet that it will be upsetting to not have that. Right. So when you're older, you have the benefit of that. Now, when you're younger, you have the benefit of all the energy.
Yeah.
That
Isn't
is
that the
not,
truth?
dedicated to bizarre body things happening later. So that's what that piece was like. But I will say like this is a whole new season. Them as I will say, post adolescent or, in adolescence as teenagers, I think there's so much that people don't tell parents. Like if you're aware, if you're conscious, if you're present, every piece of your unfinished business is going to be triggered as they go through their journeys. Every single freaking piece, if you're
Yeah.
paying attention. And so, in some ways it's about them and it's not about them, right? You're trying to do different things, but what I'm really trying to do as a mom of adolescents is go back and protect and take care of the young girl who couldn't for herself
Oh,
at that
yeah.
time that I was that age, right? That's what it's really happening
Yeah.
under the guise of looking like I'm trying to, guide my kids or give them certain direction and things like that. So I just think it's raw as shit. It is
Yeah.
just such a journey of courage
Courage. Yeah.
to do this thing. And again, whether you birthed your children or adopted them or whatever, like to really be responsible for another human
Yeah.
along in the journey, it just takes more guts than I knew. And,
Doesn't
oh my
it?
God, had I known what I've chosen it, I don't know. I
Yeah.
would probably would have thought I'm not strong enough, in some ways, but I'm super grateful I did. And
Mhm.
so I do believe in that adage, like, we're given what we need
Yeah.
at the time, but
Oh,
it doesn't mean you don't feel pain in your body
yeah.
huge times or feel huge elation at different times when they do the loveliest thing when,
Oh,
my
yeah.
son or daughter will ask me for a hug when most of the time this is a time of separating, right? And you're like, oh, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I tell everyone
So
all the time, like my son who's 17, like he still hugs me and kisses me every night. He hugs
yeah.
all his siblings too. They love him. And I'm so grateful for that because like what you were saying about like as a mom, like you want to give them a different outcome, than what you went through as a teen. And I had a very horrible experience. I was doing drugs at his, before his age. I had already lost my virginity at a very early age. Like I was
Yeah.
wild, and I just was so had such a low self-esteem, just not even knowing who I was, and just being able to like watch my son like thrive like he is. He's
Mm.
doing amazing, and the idea of him even touching alcohol or any drugs like is like so far gone, and he's just so good in his school, making straight A's, being in marching band. And just it's so beautiful to see that unfold, and it's such an important part of our journey. It's like what I think deep down what we strive for, even though they're going to still make their own mistakes, they're going to still go through what they're going through, and I all we can do is do our best to prepare them as
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, they still got to go through their crap, just like
And
we
I
had to.
think that's the big thing that I'm continuing to lean into the discomfort of that because I think I really thought I could make sure they didn't have the experiences I had.
Yeah,
I could protect them or I could help them make better choices. My equivalent is like I look at all the ways I gave myself over and didn't respect myself, all the like so many choices that way. And they will make some of those choices. Like that's what's been hard for me is like it hasn't been like, oh, good, great, look, the polar opposite. It's like,
yeah,
no, 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 that's all of it, right?
yeah,
And trying to discern where do I end and they begin, and
yeah,
where do I like I'm not a helicopter mom. I leave a pretty good amount of space, all that kind of stuff. But it's such a, I think particularly at this age, it's such a fine line of enough leash but still guiding, right?
yes,
And I think again, there isn't a perfect path. And I think when I was younger, even when they were littler, because like, oh, I could control things, right?
hmm
I in a stronger way that there was an arrogance that came with that that's not healthy.
yeah,
And I think you get humbled over time on different things, like, and it happens at different phases of their lives. But I think now I just respect anyone in the journey and whatever is happening with their kid or whatever they're dealing with, because sometimes it's great and sometimes it's hard, and we can't really make it all about us. It's not
yeah,
like, oh, if I had only made this choice and this choice and this choice, then like, no, because they're
yeah,
in the mix as their own unique human too. And I do believe, and I remember saying this to kids when they were little, which they probably wouldn't remember. I'm like, hey, you picked me. Okay. Like that's my spiritual belief. I'm like, you're up there and you're like, I'll take her, And so I'm like, you get everything that comes with that.
yes, yes.
I can't remember. My kids were saying something the other day.
Mhm.
I was in an over giving moment or over helping or over whatever it is. And my son had said something like, I was a bit much, mom. And I said, hey, I am a bit much. Like, welcome to me. Like, are you just discovering this? Because if so, like, where you been? You
I
know?
love that. I love that. Yeah, get with it. Like, hello, this is who I've been. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And more to come, probably. I'll probably
Oh yeah.
humiliate, embarrass you, and do a lot of other things. So buckle up.
Yes. That's how it goes. They'll learn
Yeah.
to appreciate. They'll look back and be so grateful for that, and have some awesome stories to
Yeah.
share as they have make their own families and things like that. So it's wonderful to watch them grow, and to be able to do what we do on this journey as well. To have them see us grow and evolve. Like especially my oldest, he's seen me change in so many ways because I was broken. I was 20 years old. I had just been working to get over my addiction to drugs, and like he was exactly like you said earlier, like how God just gives you what you need.
Yes.
What I needed to have that purpose to be like, okay, no, this is it, Mary. I'm
Yeah.
not, and I did, and I turned my life completely around. And then later on in life, after meeting life coaching and got introduced to life coaching, was able to even attract my soulmates, the guy I'm married to today, who have had two more kids and adopted my firstborn. So I love it, and it's just a fun, awesome journey that we're on, and it's cool to
Well, and
see,
you think
you
about
know.
even that benefit that
Mhm.
is hard to understand, and you couldn't have told your 20-year-old self at some level, but like
Yeah.
the fact that he got to see you through that journey probably has added a lot of his that kindness, that warmth, that gratitude, his choices, like that probably informed the journey in a way we could never know,
I know,
So it's
right?
like even to go back, because I think about this, like my kids are growing up with way more than I did, but I also know my
Mhm.
mother grew up with way more than my grandmother had. And you want them to like know and appreciate and understand, but they can't. All they can
Mhm.
have is their experience. And I think
Yeah.
the fact that, your son got to see so much of that, like what a gift, what a
Yeah.
gift that we wouldn't have gone, oh, I'm going to intentionally like, let me get into drugs so he can learn a lesson
I
standing
know,
next to
right?
me. Like, probably
Well,
not, but,
yeah, well, it's a great way, like you say, to reframe the way we see our past and understand that does not have to define who you are. You don't have
yeah,
to beat yourself up or have this guilt or that idea of like, oh, I should have done this, or if I had only done this or made this decision, then this. No, we don't really know.
yeah,
It's like it's all about like, you know what? I don't have control over that. What's done is done, but I do have the power to change my now and my future by now, learning from all these experiences and learning from even the things that you kind of regret. But it's like, okay, well, let's not beat ourselves up about it, acknowledge, yeah, it might have sucked.
yeah,
Yeah, I wish but hey, okay, now moving forward, you can be more mindful. Like, okay, going forward, now I'm going to be more, discerning as far as making a decision this quickly or really taking the time to listen to my intuition. I think that's a big part that's something on my journey recently is really
hmm,
paying attention to my intuition. When I learned that I was an energy projector, because I'm just diving into human design, it's
yeah,
like just, and I'm a splenic, so it's like knowing that I tend to make instant decisions. It's like that's so important to really tune in and embrace my intuition so that I
yeah.
do make the right decisions instead of jumping too soon at the wrong stuff because I give myself almost too much time to overthink. So,
Well, and I think that for me, like going back to the book piece of it, like there's a section when I talk about my body and discovering the fact that it really is a finely tuned GPS, like to your point, because we've talked about intuition, like I've known about that my whole life, but it's actually much more scientific than I realized, A, and B, there's so much richness there that we are, I think, intentionally kept ignorant from because I don't know what the world would do with women empowered at the level that we're becoming empowered. Like, holy cow, they're like, I don't know if we can handle it. But to your point, a lot of the reason I could not before is because of early trauma. I wasn't in my body. I was outside of my body. I was disassociated. I was all those things. So, like, I could not have had the level of tuning in to decisions, to your point, that I can now embrace because I'm learning to come back into it, right?
yeah.
And for me, every time that I am in it, every time that I can tune in, I'm sort of blown away. Like, wow, it really knows what it needs as a partner in this journey
Yeah.
in a way that I have just historically ignored it. Like, I'm going to soldier through this. I'm going to tough through that. I'm just going to, well, everybody else is doing this. Well, and to really understand, like, oh no, like, and you even said this about this journey and all these things at this time of life. I think one of the most wonderful things of being at this time of life and this journey is you just realize, like, oh my God, there's 1,000 models out there and it's all wonderful and it's all total BS in the sense that, like, beautifully, we get to create.
Yeah.
We get to make what parenting looks like any darn thing we want.
Yeah.
Where we get in trouble is not tuning into the intuition in the body and looking outside there, like, okay, what's that book say? What's that expert say? What's the newest thing here? I think
Yes.
those can all inform our experience,
Mhm.
but ultimately, our job is to remember we're totally alone, in a good way. We're
Yeah.
connected to everybody, but to go inside and say, okay, this is outrageous, but this is what I feel like doing. Like, ugh, it goes against the advice, but this is my sense. And go, you
Yes.
know? And I
Yes.
think that's the beauty is like we get to. And I think my younger self would have had no clue. Like,
No.
I mean, A, she had to mature, but B, even
Right.
beyond that, it's like she would not have been bold enough to increasingly not care what other people think
Oh,
to
yeah.
make the choices that I'm making at this stage of life. And I still get caught in the trap. In the book, I talk a lot about comparison because
Yeah.
I'm still so tempted into those abysses where it's like I finally feel like I'm settled in myself and
Yeah.
everything's great and I'm loving my life. And then I see somebody else, and then all of a
Oh,
sudden you're right back at it like, shoulda, coulda, woulda, blah, 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 blah.
oh, well, first of all, Barbara, you're beautiful. Because it's like funny because I'm reading your book. It's been amazing. And I'm just like, oh my God, what was she like? It's weird how like other people look at you and are like, how can she even think that about herself? Because people like don't realize it with me too. Like when people say, "Oh, you're so beautiful," and I'm like, I did not believe that for most of my life. I thought it was
Yes.
fat and ugly and something was wrong with me and I always need to change it. And I had that comparison, especially growing up in the, with all these pop stars and models and, it's like all that, like you had to look a certain way to be perfect and to be accepted. And it's like I felt totally into that as a young
Yeah.
girl, and that's a scary thing even as a parent, it's like we don't want our kids to either fall into those traps. I really work with I have one daughter and
Mhm.
she's 6, so I'm really, but even my sons, of course, every one of them, I'm really always trying to build confidence in them and just get them
Yeah,
to love themselves and, really be as best as I can, of course, because I know that's still their own journey. Sometimes you're only saying that, mom, because you're my mom,
totally.
kind of
And they will
attitude.
believe that, right?
Yeah,
They will just believe
exactly.
that even if it's not true. Yes.
Exactly. So, but my hope is to help them because I even have my daughter, like at night, like, I'll have her repeat after me and say things like, I am brave, I am
Mhm.
strong, I am beautiful, I am worthy, because those are the kind of things I want imprinted in her, like in her
Yes.
subconscious mind, because I didn't have that.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
like
and
a lot
and
of
I will
work.
say, even if cognitively she remembers none of it, because like 0 to 7, they hold very little memory. She is energetically experiencing that space with you of you reparenting yourself through her. And I think like that alone is such a freaking gift. Like you think if any of us could go back and have what you just described, like, I'm sorry, I want that now at this age. I want someone to sit with me at night and to have me repeat those things and to hear my
Yes.
voice come out of my mouth, right? To really
Yes.
exist and experience that. I think that's like such a priceless thing,
It is.
and
It is. It's what I'm
yeah,
so passionate about with moms, sharing that because it really does start with us. So
yeah,
I always share the story that I'll never forget when I had to be 3 years old, watching my mom in the mirror,
mm,
and she was calling herself fat. And I didn't even realize back then that I'd imprinted in me because I remember thinking, oh, well, I'm her daughter, so that's my mommy, so that must mean that's true about me. And
yeah,
I didn't realize how that imprinted on me into how my beliefs and how I saw myself as I got older. And so I feel like, oh my goodness, like I want to feel confident in myself and take
yeah,
care of me because they're watching. And
yes,
what they see me doing, how I treat myself, how I talk about myself is how they're going to eventually talk about themselves. So I love to really work with moms about their self-talk because that's
yeah,
huge. I mean, what you believe, you'll attract. And
yes,
we create our own realities and a lot of times our own struggles and suffering because we don't really believe in what's possible and we're just so bombarded with all that limitations and old beliefs that were put in us and it's like it's so wonderful to be able to help others like even be aware of that because I
yeah,
wasn't. That's what a life coach did for me. Like I had no idea
yes.
now the crap that I was causing for my own self and then knowing that I didn't have to do that anymore. That's like whew, that was such a relief and it's not easy. It's the inner work is probably the hardest part. I feel like, especially as you get older, to really reprogramming all that and letting things go and opening up space to receive more when you've been believing something for so long,
Yeah.
without even realizing it and living on autopilot. So I love that you've worked on this and this book. I want to know like what led you to writing this because it's so wonderful.
Well, it's like I know life is not always this way, but I really do. My felt experience of it was that it started writing itself. And what's
Yeah.
so fascinating is so for folks who don't know the book, it's
Yeah.
the title is Enough, but there's two characters, enough and not enough in the book. And it is enough is this, I feel like character entity experience that came into my life, truly came in from an experience I had and then continued to show up for me. And then the more that she was around, the more I could see not enough and his talk and all that negativity around as well. But truly, I started capturing these stories. Like I would be sitting in a coffee shop and I'm just grabbing it. I'm like, I'm writing it until the point where it was like, oh my God, this is a thing. I'm going to publish that. Like it was just sort of a knowing, right?
Yeah.
But what's interesting now is I published it last year and now I have a deeper appreciation from doing podcasts and interviews and things like that I didn't understand how much I wrote it for me. I didn't really understand that. Like, even though I was experiencing these concepts, it was to have an embodied sense of teacher living
Yeah.
within me. It's like, in some of the Eastern religions, you talk about having a guru. And, okay, my guru became the book, it became me, in those ways.
Love that.
And part of it for me is like, again, I was read a lot, followed a lot of self help for decades and decades, and took courses and did all these things. But I think there's a point at which we become our own guide, And to your point, like I have had coaches that they're still phrases that were mic drops from them that live
Yes.
in my DNA, right?
Yes, yes.
And but at this stage of life, it really was something different, something that was emergent and something that continues to teach me regularly. And the true spark of it was the first story I share in the book, which was, being out in front of my house. I had, was cleaning stuff out and pulled out, kids' sidewalk chalk and an old jar because it had been sitting there. And I'm like, should I throw this away? Do I give it away? Do I whatever? And I just threw it on, we're in the city. I threw it on the sidewalk in front of our house and, was out working on my laptop on the porch. But we have kind of like a deep porch, so you can't see from the street.
Mhm.
And I heard, and I had written on the sidewalk, like, please write, chalk, or draw, like, just hello, anybody that wants to use this, use it. Because my kids were a little older, right? And sure enough, I hear, what I think is a little boy. Like, I never did see these two humans, but, a little boy like tugging on mom's. They're like, please, can I please? And, clearly she's on the phone. Clearly she's distracted, as we all are, right?
Mhm.
But she gives in, and you can hear him just drawing, like from where I'm sitting. And it was just this sweetness of him talking to himself in a way that, like, your kids probably do and have done, but we don't have a sense of that sort of freedom and joy as adults ourselves. But he would, oh, a little more blue here, oh, a little bit, like, he just had this thing. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is just amazing. But I'm imagining as a mother that it's going to be a scribble when I go look at it later and whatever. But how dear, you appreciate it, right?
Yeah.
And to get the thing started, I had drawn these colorful circles, thinking like I'll kick it off, like I'll, whatever.
Yeah.
So I just made these circles, filled them in, and I finally hear their voices, leave or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I think it's safe to like pop down. And so I literally, kind of traipse down the stairs. And I'm not exaggerating. I looked down and I couldn't move. Tears came to my eyes. I was just like profoundly struck because this boy had taken those circles and he had put like rings around them and turned them into planets like Saturn, like pictures,
I
like,
love that.
and it was unbelievable. So on my sidewalk in that moment is this gorgeousness that I could not have ever anticipated that reminded me, like, I remember when I was younger and you first saw like pictures of space and they were art, and
Yeah.
they still are. I still think it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I had this felt experience at that point in time where I was like, I didn't move. And all of a sudden, these tears just spring to my eye and I'm standing there just crying. And I had this felt sense in my body like I was being hugged, like something was embracing me. And that was what I called enough. It was just this
Mm.
profound experience moment of that sense of
Yeah.
knowing, inside my physical body that, that I am enough, that there's this experience. And the fact that it was not like, this was not an expensive concert ticket. This was not,
Mhm.
there was no, it was me getting rid of something I wasn't going to use and
Yes.
some little human turning that into a profound experience of beauty. And once that happened, it was literally like the door opened, and all of a sudden, I couldn't unsee a lot of the other experiences like that were happening in my life and that started teaching me what mattered,
Yeah.
what didn't matter, but in a different way. Like, you might cognitively know if you've done any self help, you're like, I get it. I know how to work my core mistaken beliefs. I know how to, blah, blah. But it was
Yes.
different. It was embodied in a way.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That's just such a beautiful story, Barbara. I loved it when I read about that. I'm like, even got me teary-eyed because it's like it is sometimes the simple little things that mean so much. And we are so hard on ourselves as well when you just hear the word enough. Like that's a huge part of what I see, and I know I've experienced is just not feeling like we're good enough, like or that we're
Yeah.
doing enough. And to get that embodiment of like knowing that, yeah, you're not just more than enough, but you're doing more than enough. And
Yeah.
I tell people it's like we got to learn to honor where we are and stop trying. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's beautiful to want more. Always
Yes.
be striving for more.
Yes.
Absolutely. That is your right. You are what you are worthy of that. That is great. But there's also that part of being like, okay, just because it's not there yet doesn't mean you have to dwell or be upset or feel like you're a failure or you're not doing enough. It's more of like, okay, let's just keep moving forward and keep allowing things to just unfold in the way they're meant to. Let's look at this differently and just understand that everything's preparing you for what's meant for you.
Well,
And so,
and
you know,
to your
yeah.
point, like, ironically, my experience has been,
Hmm.
my real lived experience has
Yeah.
been the more that I have allowed, increasingly accepted the fact that I need to change nothing right now. I talk in the book about change as an option, not an imperative.
Yes.
I always thought it was an imperative, just to your point of I'm fat, I better lose weight. I'm not making enough. I better do this. I better achieve more. My
Mhm.
podcast better do this. My book should blah, 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 like all of that stuff, right? So choosing not to play that game, choosing to really increasingly accept, like, no, like literally, if no thing ever changed again,
Mhm.
there is a magnificence beyond anything I could feel, see, or hear, think from a spiritual perspective, I believe right now. Like there is a communion in this conversation we're
Yeah.
having that is once in a lifetime thing that will never happen again.
Yeah.
And we just forget, we don't notice, we all those things, right? But to your point, the more that I found that I can allow that, I do more things. I actually risk more because given that solid base,
Yeah.
given that solid core and foundation, it is safer. I think about the parenting example, right? When kids have that safe attachment base, they stray farther away.
Yeah.
When they don't feel that, attachment so much, they're going to stay. I mean, now some of it's age wise, depends where they are developmentally,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But by and large, it is to me allowing enough to come into my life created my own adult safe base, there, I forget who said that phrase, it's never too late to have a happy childhood, but it's like, okay, good.
Ah,
So I didn't get to experience it back
mhm.
then, but right in this moment, I
Yeah.
am getting to become my own secure base. And I will say, like, the moment that I had that experience, I didn't intend to write a book. I didn't intend to write and perform this one woman show. I didn't, like, none of that was on my radar.
Yeah.
And all of that happened within rapid fire time. But it was from the opposite. It wasn't from going, I should, I could, I've gotta, like, here's the
Yeah.
next thing, here's my goal. And again, I think goals are great too,
Mhm.
in so much as they are almost an overflow of our essence and desire, but
Yes.
not when they are a should and not when they're because everybody else or not when they are
Yes.
disconnected from that core, kind of
Yes.
emergence.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. I love that because it's so true. Everyone focuses on like, well, how can I get this? How can I do this? How can I do that? And I'm like, but the answers will come as you just start taking action. Like even just putting yourself out there and just meeting people and trying new things can literally bring so much downloads, even meditating. Like you
Yep.
never know. Like I've had times where I remember one time I was just having a kind of a rough morning. I was off my game. I just didn't feel like doing anything. Like I felt like just kind of down. I'm just my emotions, maybe my hormones were off. I don't know what it was. I just was really feeling down. And I remember an advice that I gave someone literally earlier in the week where I told her because she was also struggling and she was just like, I have all these things I want to do, but then I just talk myself out of it because I just don't feel like doing anything. And I said, well, how about when you're feeling that way, just give yourself like 5 minutes of just tuning into something that lights you up. Something, whether it's a podcast, reading a book, or watching one of your courses. If you have something that you've been kind of behind on doing, just give it 5 minutes and then see how you feel. Because I said
Hmm.
if you still feel that way, then okay, maybe you need to respect that, honor it, and be like, this is my decision. I'm good. I'm gonna take a rest day, whatever.
Yep.
But see if it might fuel something in you, right? So I decided to take that advice, and I'll never forget. I sat in while I'm listening to one of my courses, and it was something I've watched before, but I decided to just tune into it. And not even like 2 minutes in, all of a sudden I had this huge download of like what I could do next in my business, or what and I created something amazing from that. And so I always like to encourage people, like, just don't overthink it. We do that as
Yeah.
well. We do that a lot, don't we? We always
Oh, we
overthink things.
do.
We worry about
Yeah.
like the outcome. We focus, but I've learned one of the biggest things I've learned, what you focus on is a big deal because what you
Yeah.
focus on, you're going to track. So if you focus a lot on the lack of, if you focus on what you don't have, then you're going to keep having lack. You're going to keep having the things that you don't want show up. So I've been really working to myself, just being aware of that. Of like,
Yeah.
where's my focus? Where's my energy? Because how you show up with your energy is really going to make all the difference in what shows up for you.
Well,
So
and that piece I remember because again, I've learned a lot cognitively, but then
yeah,
living it is a different thing, right?
yes, it
And
is.
to that point, when I started my business, I thought, my choice was I'm going to do this unlike what people had trained me in. Like I want to do it my own way. I want, and all that kind of stuff. And it was just what you described. Like I get to go meet people, I get to hang with people I like, I get to talk about what matters to me, and then
Yeah.
business comes out of that, right? But I learned, it probably started about 6 to 9 months into the business, like when I started getting in that other space of transactions and worry and planning, literally my pipeline would dry up. It was
Mm.
like I'd go from such abundance in there to like nothing.
Yeah.
And so what I learned in those moments is like that's when I pause and go play. Like
Yeah.
I've gotten too serious, too heavy, too overthinking, too planny, which I
Yeah.
can do to your point.
Yeah.
And I was like, oops, yikes, done. Let's go out. Let's go walk in nature. Let's go do something, whatever. Let's listen to something fun and delightful. And then when I come back, it's irrelevant. Like then you're playing again. And then in that playing, oh my gosh, go figure. Somebody calls, some email comes, something happens. And it isn't connected to the activity. I think that's a lot of the training I had gotten early in my life. It's like, there's this phrase of activity begets activity, but it doesn't mean it's connected. It's like, no, just moving towards something that delights you and inspires you naturally brings more to you that you want. It's just not always exactly how you think and
Yeah.
plan and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But it's one to, I feel like, to constantly keep going back to remember,
Yeah.
for the next level of stuff. Cause I think also like
Yeah.
the more I discover I can do, the more my desires grow. It's like, oh, now I
Yes.
want even more of that thing, or whatever it is. So, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And even things like that that's foreign to you gets easier and easier. Like
Yeah.
even especially with building your confidence, you're never going to build it, hiding away. You
Yeah.
got to get out there and face it and be courageous because it's not easy. Yeah, you're probably going to still I remember me. I mean, I still stumble on my words. Like I've gotten better over
Yeah.
time of doing this, but it's like in the beginning, oh my goodness, I always stuttered, whatever, but that's at the same time, I'm also like enjoying that part of like, you know what? I get to do it messy and that's okay because
Yes.
I just want to lead by example. I want to show the moms like, look, I'm not perfect either, but I'm still doing it. So if I can do it, so can you. And if they can succeed, so can I. Like, so can all of us. So it's like that is just part of this growth that happens, like you say, when you just take one little step at a time and just do it.
Well,
Just,
and to your point, like even when I was, and I said this when we got on before we were live, but
yeah.
writing the book itself, like part of what was challenging after I had submitted it was all of a sudden you're reading it with fresh eyes. You're reading it, I just have completed the audio book version of the book, but all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, I would rearrange, I would do all that kind of stuff. But the beauty of the book, like, because it was about the topic it was, because it was about enough,
Yeah.
it's like, no, honey, like,
There
we
you go.
could go redo it, redo it, redo it, make it perfect. And all of that time would have not been spent doing whatever you're playing with next, right?
Mhm.
And so I feel like, it's so easy to get caught in that trap. And I think the beauty is the imperfection. It
Yes.
truly is being where we are and expressing it as it is in a point in time and knowing that we'll look back on this and have the
Yeah.
ability to do it better. Like, I hope so. I hope I
Yeah.
look back in the next book or two and go, oh my gosh, my writing's gotten so much better. I hope that's what I say, right? Or
Yes.
or I
Think about it.
desire to touch it in a different way. And I think that's like, I've really been working on shifting my life from the have to the get to. I've
Yes.
got
I
to
love
do
that.
this, I've got to do this, I've got to do this. It's like, no, no, no. I get to put this book out. I get to do the show. I get to express this thing. I get to meet people. I get to have it go well and I get to have it be a hot freaking mess because all of it is part of the journey. And you said earlier, I loved what you were saying about our story. Like, that's the thing we get to reclaim that no one else gets a right to. They could try to tell our story, but we are the only ones that get to frame that narrative from our insides out and choose what it means to us. Like everybody could write 50 versions of our book, but we own the original copy and we're the only
Yes.
ones that get to author, approve, edit, and put our
Yes.
stamp on it. And that gets to be written all the time, to your point. Like I get to rewrite those choices I made that I still feel upset about in my early childhood or adolescence. I get to rewrite those as part of the teachers that they were that I could not have seen when I was
Yes.
there doing those things, right? That I can only now appreciate through the eyes that exist now. And I think that's part of where we take back our power, right?
It truly is. It truly is. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing to be able to take back that control and to know that we get to change our story. But I love when you say that, I want to put it out there for anyone listening to. It's like that right there is exactly why you're so unique and that someone out there needs what you have to offer. That's why if people are out there like, well, there's so many people doing all these things and have all these businesses, and who am I? Well, because you have your own unique story. You have
Yes.
your own unique journey that's going to really resonate and really help someone else in a similar situation.
It's
So that's,
so, so true. I just want to exclamation mark
yeah.
everything you said because I had a spiritual advisor who was lovely. that, through this process when I was writing. And she had said to me at one point in time, she's like, by the way, when you put this out, you will discover all these other books that are similar, and you'll discover things that have been named the same time, et cetera. She's like, I'm telling you this now so that when that moment comes, this is going to be planted in your mind, which is to say it doesn't matter. And she said basically exactly what you just said. Like, your job is not to, like, your job is to put into this your particular unique essence. And I write about in the book one of the experiences I had of this when I was earlier in my business, probably in the first year, and a woman had asked me for an endorsement, who literally does what I do for a living, right? And like, all of my training historically in corporations and things like that would have been like, she's your competitor. You don't endorse her. It's for the exact same thing. How could you do that? Da 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 da. But like, every part of my DNA wanted to. I love this woman. She's fantastic. If I needed my services, I'd hire her.
Yeah.
She's that good and has a lot of experience, is also authentic, all these kinds of things. And I remember that choice point, and this was enough, like, living with me in that moment where she's like, honey, who cares? Like, who cares, competitor or not? Who cares your bio, her bio? Who cares, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And so I loved crafting this endorsement for her. And it was, a couple sentences, a short paragraph. And I felt so good when I sent it off, meaning that endorsement for her served me, I guarantee, more than it served her, right?
Hmm.
I don't know how many people she was asking. I don't know what she published. I didn't follow through to see, but my heart
Yeah.
was expanded in the giving of
Yes.
what felt true to me. And it would have felt stingy and small
Hmm.
minded and narrow to not allow that abundance to pour forth from my heart.
Yeah.
But it's such a, odd world that we live in where we think,
Yeah.
oh no, they did it already. And in the book I have a quote from Henry Van Dyke, and I won't quote it exactly, but it's something like, and it was something I saw on a postcard when I was 12, and we were on vacation, and I remember it was like, in one of these bookstores or something, but it said, use what talents you possess. The woods would be silent if no bird sang except those that sang the best.
Oh.
And my wording's not exactly right on that, but it was a mic drop in that regard. Like, no, if we're all sitting around waiting for the best bird who has the one bird message, literally you would walk in the woods and it would be quiet,
Yeah.
because
Absolutely.
the odds that you're going to run across that one bird where it, and by the way, it wouldn't even have all the harmonies and things. And that's where I think I love the message that you're sharing with listeners, because what we need as a planet is everyone putting that out. We
Yes.
need the chorus of those voices, sometimes which sounds very, very, very similar, sometimes that are harmonizing, sometimes whatever. But, I strongly believe in my DNA that if we can all do that, truly, that is transformative to the planet
It
and to all
is.
of us in ways we can't know,
I know.
sitting
It's
in our little world planning ahead. And it is like, I mean, that Nike saying is so kind of silly, but so true. Like, just do it. Yeah. Don't think about it. Don't look back.
yeah.
Don't wonder. Like, I've had a number of people like, so how's your book going? What are you doing to promote it? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, irrelevant to me. Like,
Yeah. Hmm.
I birthed that and birthed and other stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I would have asked
Get
that
that.
question in the past, but it really is not even
Yeah.
something at this point that matters to me, because I'm just following where I'm being led.
Exactly. I love that. And also to the whole point of like the sharing and with someone who's in a similar field as you are. I love that because that's what I'm all about. I believe in us rising and thriving together. It's a big part of my messaging because like I love that abundance mindset. And for
Yeah.
anyone who ever feels like if you catch yourself feeling that whole like, oh, well, she also does the same thing I do. I don't think it, that's where that scarcity mindset is. That is truly
Yes.
an example of what scarcity mindset is because believing that there's not enough for everyone is what's going to hold you back from receiving even more. You giving like that is so telling the universe that you're ready to receive even more because that's such a blessing to give. The more you give, the more you get. And I do believe in that. And so like I'm that kind of person. Like every time I meet someone, I'm like, even if it's just to love on your comments and help build your algorithm, whatever I can do to support you. And that's why I'm doing this podcast because I love supporting other women in business and I want to help them to get out
Yeah.
there and to be known and get your story out there because what some people are going to like me and then some people are not but I want
Yep.
no, but at the end of the day I want everyone to have a support in some way or another so that's why I think it's beautiful to have these networking connections because I might meet someone who may not feel like I'm the right person for them, but I'm like, but I know this amazing coach who is. Maybe you just need to go in her world because at the end of the day, I just want them to see that transformation for themselves. I want them to find that success. And, and vice versa. Like there might be people that,
Yes.
because I met someone the other day who wasn't a mom, but we have very similar ideas and we love that mindset work. And she's like, I do meet sometimes moms who feel like, that I don't understand where they are. And so
Yeah.
she's like, well, now I know you, Mary. So I'm like, absolutely. And same here. I might have people that may not have kids or may just not really feel good with me. And I'm happy to send them your way. I really believe in that in so many ways. Like even when people reach out to you and maybe sharing their offers, that takes courage.
Yes, it does.
Not a lot of people have the courage to reach out to somebody just blindly and be like, hey, do you need help with this? This is who I am. This is what I do. We shouldn't make them feel bad for that. I think there's a
Yeah.
sense that where we sometimes feel like, oh, they're salesy. Oh my God. But this is their lifestyle. This is what they're doing. And it's okay to share. You don't have to accept it, but lovingly, whether it is for you or not, but it's also, like I said, give them a little grace because you also want people to respond to you like that when you share what you have to offer because they may need exactly what you have and maybe
Yeah.
not. But hey, I've made amazing connections sometimes from just sharing, hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. If you know anybody or if you need it, here it is. And so
Well, and
yeah.
I think to that point, I have a couple of particular business women that I follow that I'm on, and I don't like my email I clear out pretty regularly in the
Mhm.
sense that I don't have a whole lot of newsletters and things that I'm on. But there's a couple that I follow that I love them selling to me. And I may rarely buy, but I can feel their authenticity in it.
Yeah.
And there's something delightful about feeling them loving what matters to them that is a
Yeah.
gift to me, and not everything is that way, but to your point, to just even have the courage to do it. And when the one woman show I did, the idea was like there's two me's. There's me who's in this world as we're living, and there's me that's in this alternate reality. But as you were describing it, there's a couple scenes there where in essence the one who's in this alternate reality, she gets permission to come back or to come down to this experience and explain a little bit and compare and contrast what
Yeah.
her experience is in her world like this. And I just laugh because what you end up finding out through the play is that the name of that place is called Grace. And but what emerges is there people don't think about things transactionally, like they give because they're so overflowing.
Yeah.
And what they discover, like scientifically, we know this in our world, when you give, your heart's expanded, your health is in better shape, your nervous system is regulated, all that kind of stuff. And so we get the benefit when we authentically share. And to her, who's coming back to visit, she's like, I don't quite understand why you guys aren't like, wait, it's better for your health. You did it. Like it has all these benefits. Why are you doing, you're asking me why we're doing it this way. Like, why are you doing it this, like, why do you guard things? Why do you hoard resources? Like, whatever. And she talks about work that way as well. She's like, well, we don't have it like how you describe it. She's like, it's just everybody does all the things that delight them and it all gets taken care of.
Yeah.
And some of these beings love to tend to children. And so they become what you would call teachers. And some of them love to raise the animals and some of them love to make the food. And so, but like everyone's doing all of these things. And there are people, and I say like me, who love to do lots of them,
Yeah.
right? But when that happens, everything's covered. There isn't scarcity to your point. There, it just does not exist because, we know this as we get more evolved, but it is a construct.
Yeah.
It's just we keep buying it so much,
I
right? And
know.
so, but to your point, like even for me, I try to catch myself because you still have, you just have these really human moments, or you're having your down day or your whatever. And it's like, it's not, oh, I'm never going to feel that way again. I'm never going to get caught in that
Yeah.
trap. It's like, can I notice and shift out of it faster? Is really the only thing I
Yeah.
expect of myself. Like, oh, there I go again. God bless you, honey. I love you. Way to go. Like, let's get out
Exactly.
now,
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I
And
love
there's
I
such
love that
power
mission.
in that, right? That's
Oh,
such power in that to be
such
able to
power.
recognize and even like have that compassion, like, yo, I get it. Like I know this is hard. It sucks. I feel you. It's like almost like talking to that inner child because that's
Yeah.
where a part of that's coming from. It's like the emotions like from something that happened in your past. It's just showing up again. And be able to kind of lovingly, hey, I hear you, I see you, I understand, but we'll be okay. We got this.
Well, and to that, like, this is part of what I have loved about being a mom. I remember this. My kids went to a private school, and I remember God, I was so judgy of all of these moms because, like, I'm sorry, they were in, it's kind of like what you were describing about being around the famous, they're all their perfect
Oh,
jobs and their perfect outfits and their perfect yoga pants. Says I didn't look like them. Like, I'm shorter, I'm heavier, I'm all like, it just didn't fit the profile, right? So it's so easy to sit back or whatever. But there was this ethos of like, how are you? I'm great. This Johnny's doing this, Susie's doing, all that kind of stuff. And I remember making this choice for myself. I'm like, I'm just going to be real, like, period. So if somebody asks me, so I remember like, a parent would ask me, like, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm having a time. Like, this is going well, but I'm really struggling with this piece and da 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 da. And I don't know, and then all of a sudden they'd open up and all of a sudden you'd hear the react, like it was almost like by me being real, it was an invitation to them that they didn't have to do that facade, right?
yeah.
And then, yes, there are still some people that are so superficial when I
Yeah.
discover them that I'm like, yeah, not my people.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
so often I was delighted. Like, I remember in particular, there's this one woman who, super tall, blonde, leg, the whole thing, right? And like, I think European, married to a European, I don't know, like has all, all of my mystique. But I caught myself like, man, I am just judging. So I intentionally, like at the pickup, line, I was like, I'm just going to talk to her. I'm just going to go up and I'm going to talk to her. Oh my gosh, if she wasn't the warmest, kindest human, like to this point, if I saw her on the street, our kids were in a little toddler class for a minute, we would still warmly greet each other, da da da, like we always had eyes on each other
Yeah.
because of these little real conversations. And it was
Yeah.
just my BS that
Yeah.
was in the way of me really being with myself and then therefore being with her as a mom and a parent. And I think the more that we can be real that way, the more we give other people permission. And that's what I hear you inviting your listeners to is like, sing your song, do your thing, be your person, because it not only contributes, it draws that out in other people as well.
Yeah, which is powerful and it can help so much make that difference that you're wanting to make. I mean, it's exactly the way to be. But yeah, I know it's a challenge. So that's why people like me and Barbara are here for you. And speaking of Barbara, if someone was listening and wanted to learn more about you and your services that you offer, where's the best place for them to go find you?
Yeah, for the services I do, my business name is Corluma, CORLUMA.com. And it's core for heart, Luma for light. So
Love
it's where
that.
heart meets light, but applied to businesses and all those kinds of things. But also within that website, there's beenough.com, a landing page that has about the book and, a little newsletter that has some very short, weekly inspirational messages, for
Love
that go
that.
for, I think, 6 months. So, but those are the two main places to find me.
Well, that's awesome. And I'm telling you guys, get a copy of her book. It's amazing. And it's so eye-opening, the perspective that it gives you. Oh my gosh, it's mind-blowing. I love it,
Well,
love
and
it,
if
love
you're
it.
looking for the book, look for Enough by Barbara Burgess, like on Amazon or Barnes and Noble or whatever
Yes,
those things, because there are a few books called Enough.
absolutely. And I'll make sure all your links, of course, are in the show notes for anyone just to click and go and connect with you today and just be supported. And I always open the floor too. Is there any final piece of advice that you'd like to give the listeners today?
Gosh, if I had to pick one thing, I think it would be the message that I feel like I got to receive out of the book, which is we are enough, we have enough, we get to do everything, and there's nothing we have to do beyond exactly us in this moment.
Absolutely. And I love it because, oh, yeah, earlier I wanted to say that when you were talking about that we get to do that, I even shifted, even cleaning my house, even doing chores from I have to do this to I get to. I have a beautiful family, a house. Yes, it's messy, and sometimes that's okay to let it be messy. But you know what? At the end of the day, when I'm cleaning and doing that, I get to do that. I have that
I
privilege of
do that
having that.
making my
Yeah,
bed
I
though, to
do.
your point. It's these little micro moments because I was like bitching and complaining about, but I love a beautifully made bed. It is a gift to myself. No one else is, And so like when I smooth it and when I make it just neat, I'm like, that's all for me. Like I'm giving
Yes.
myself this wonderful gift. But yes, I get to even in the household chores.
Yes, I love it. I like Barbara. I cannot thank you enough for everything you shared, for your amazing energy, and just being the beautiful soul that you are and all that you do. Like you are doing incredible things. I can't wait for you to bring out more books. I see that for your future and everything else you're working on in your consultation business. I am just so excited for you and just truly grateful that we got to cross paths.
Thank you, Mary. And I'm going to say to be continued. This has to be the beginning, not the end.
Absolutely. I look forward to any future collaborations that we get to do.
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you. I just love talking with Barbara. Before we wrap up, here are a few beautiful takeaways from today's conversation that I want you to carry with you, Mama. You are not your titles. You are a whole, authentic, evolving human being. Intuition is a guide, not a whisper. When you slow down and listen, it becomes your compass. You are already enough. Worthiness is not something you earn, it's something you remember. Presence is power. When you come back to the moment, clarity follows. Even your responsibilities can become privileges when you shift the way you view them. Community matters. You don't have to walk this journey alone. If you want to learn more about today's amazing guest, Barbara, just click the link in the show notes and connect with her today. And before I let you go, I just want to say thank you, truly. Every time you tune in, share, or send a message, it reminds me why I show up for this incredible community of moms. And I am so excited because next week I'm officially releasing my brand new mini course, something designed to help you shift out of survival mode and into a mindset of confidence, calm, and possibility. Make sure you're following the podcast and on my email list so you don't miss the special early access offer going on from launch week through Cyber Monday. I love you, Mama. Thank you for being here. Until next time, keep shining, keep rising, and keep believing in all that's possible for you. Much love.